Hello, my name is Sarah Dorman, and I am presenting my paper on cell wall evolution. So I'm just gonna pull up the PowerPoint I made real quick and talk about my paper. So the way I'm gonna explain this paper is I just made a PowerPoint and kind of like took all the highlights from it and just put it in this PowerPoint. So the title is Cell Wall Evolution of Vascular and Non-Vascular Photosynthetic Organisms. I know this is a long title, but it's pretty descriptive of what my paper is about. It's how plants with and without a cell wall evolved into what kind of plants we have today. All right, so my abstract just kind of talked about the overview of my paper. And so plants on this earth now are pretty complex and diverse on how they grow and where they grow. And plants have always been evolving just like animals. And then cell walls are why land plants are so successful, or basically plants that don't live in water. And then cellulose and lignin are the two main components of the cell wall. And cell walls with this cellulose and lignin help fight against water loss. And then there's a three-layered cell wall that also evolved as time went on. All right, introduction. Species are so complex due to the way they evolved, kind of like the way animals evolved, that there's many kinds and species and varieties and subspecies present today due to different changes in the environment. And then organisms must continue to evolve to survive. And then vegetation makes up 99.9% of the biomass. All right. All right, 90.9% of the biomass in the world, and that makes it difficult to classify these species. And then anything that is photosynthetic requires chloroplasts, but you can also be photosynthetic without a cell wall, such as some fungi and some algae. But most land plants have this cell wall, such as flowering plants, angiosperms, and seed plants, gymnosperms. And there's different kind of algae and fungi. And then cell walls are needed for support and growth and protection, specifically protection against bacteria and all kinds of disease. All right, history. There's no way to tell exactly when the split of land and aquatic plants occurred, but through the fossil record and species today, it's thought to be about 912 million years ago, which is a long time, much longer than most animals started to evolve. And then the phylogeny or grouping of these animals is somewhat difficult, but it can be done due to modern methods of tracking different components found in the cell wall, such as protein and monosaccharides and polysaccharides. So where they're located in the cell and how they move around when the plant starts to mature. And it was kind of like compared to like a tag. So it's like where the tag is. So, and then there's three parts to the cell wall: the primary cell wall, the middle lamella, and the secondary cell wall. And like I said, where the proteins are in this. Yeah. Okay. right, so I'm going to continue with the history. So plants have become independent of water now through this evolutionary time scale, and all life is dependent on these photosynthetic organisms. Think about it. No animal today could be here without photosynthetic organisms. And then these plants also developed cell wall to be able to remove themselves from competition. And then in history, most of them lived in water and did not need a cell wall because they could complete their whole life cycle, including reproduction in water. And then plants evolved to have cell walls added to the membranes when they moved to land. So there's many reasons for this. So like I said before, the protection, and then they could grow taller. And then there's a new problem with these new cell walls. It's overcoming the water loss, because before these cells were just in water and they did osmosis. So some of these plants develop lignin, and you can see these in much of the trees like the redwoods today, or pretty much any tree. And they also evolved to have cuticles and stomata. Cuticles is the waxy covering on the leaf, and then the stomata is the structure that controls the amount of CO2 let into the leaf. And then too much water loss also results in necrosis, or death of the plant. All right, so here we get to the cell wall structure, which involves cellulose. And then cellulose is made of different materials such as glucose, and then they're arranged in different patterns, much like a scaffold of a building to make up a cell wall. And then some of these cells also have hemicellulose to strengthen the plant body since it provides support. And cellulose is a main component of these cells and provides the foundation for plants being able to colonize on land. And then cells allow better competition than plants without a cell wall. So imagine you have a single-celled photosynthetic cell, then you have a land cell. Which one do you think is going to win out in the end? All right, then here is where we get to lignin. People underestimate lignin. You cannot have these big plant structures that we have today without this. And it's a main component of some of these cell walls, and it's made from crossing the cellulose and hemicellulose. So it's just a different arrangement of this plant material. And then without this, we would not have many woody plants that we did today. And it's not found in all plants, and it's just a response of plants to the environment, such as they want to grow bigger than other plants, or they can live in places where other plants can't be. It's all about avoiding competition. All right, then here I put this section in my paper because I think it's interesting, is modern evolution of plants and applications. So when you think of modernly evolved plants, you might think of GMOs. So GMOs actually aren't bad, and it's just the selecting of certain genes to be put into the next gene pool, and it just speeds up this process. So crops like corn and lots of different grasses, well, corn is a grass, and then some trees will are selected GMOs, and they're used for a lot of different purposes, such as crops to produce energy, such as corn or ethanol. And then with this GMO, the genes determine where the cell walls are going to be during growth, and that can also help track the evolutionary changes. And then there's an interesting thing called Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy, and it makes it possible to look at plant cells and the arrangement of the cellulose, and making each plant unique, or each species unique, and can help with evolution. All right, here we get to the conclusion, finally. So plants can be found all over and are diverse due to the arrangement of proteins and how they grow and where they grow, and if they have lignin or not, and how this lignin is distributed in the plant. And then evolution speeds up as the timeline goes on, much like the phylogenetic tree. At the beginning, there was only a couple branches, and now there's many, many, many branches. And cell walls is what made land colonization possible, as well as cellulose and lignin. And then other developments include this 3-layered cell wall, which there's only one cell wall in the beginning. So obviously much has happened to make it more complex now and more efficient. And then the fight against water loss is also very important. And if plants cannot effectively combat water loss, there would be no land plants today. And then all these plants or photosynthetic organisms have been evolving in order to compete with all the other plants in this harsh and changing world. All right, well, thanks for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about plants and all the food you eat, and have a good day.